Hey, welcome to another edition of Win the Day Content Library. Today we are joined by our resident mindset coach, Allie Perugini. Allie has been leading some of our Mindset Monday webinars and creating some great content for us. So we're super excited. Allie, welcome to the Content Library.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Hey, so one of the things that you and I have talked a lot about, and we've actually done a Mindset Monday on this, is this idea of micro habits. What are micro habits and why do they work?
Yeah. So I love this topic. And I think it's super important for athletes, but also for coaches too. So when I think of micro habits, essentially I'm thinking of taking a larger goal that we have and breaking it down to the tiniest possible pieces, the tiniest actions possible. So the idea is that these small pieces feel easy and manageable, and that they're also steering us towards success and larger results. And so this idea of them being easy and manageable is also the same reason why they work really well. Um, as humans, we tend to set and think far out into the future, setting these long-term, kind of lofty goals, which is great. You know, it's important to have these long-term goals, but micro habits essentially allow us to really simplify the process of achieving these goals and allows us to really dial in and focus on what's important to get there.
I love that. And I think about athletes today, and I think about, you're right, very big, long term, big picture. I want to be a state champion.
Mhm.
I want to set the school record and all that stuff. So I love that. When you are kind of implementing these micro habits, what are some key things that you really want to keep in mind?
Yeah. So exactly what you just said, kind of going from that macro focus to a micro focus. So I think of going from this big picture, so the goal to win the championship or win the conference, but then essentially taking a magnifying glass to that picture and looking more closely at what are these tiny pieces, what are these small actions that need to be done on a daily basis to achieve this big picture and this bigger goal. So really having that micro focus, and then also setting the daily goals, and for coaches, setting practice goals too. So having those practice goals will reinforce these habits, and having something that you can do daily. And also when you're doing this, it's important to get as small as possible and as specific as possible. So having a set time that you're going to do this micro habit for, or a certain time of day or a certain time of practice when it's going to be implemented. So small, specific, micro focus, and then also when I say make it easy, something that comes to mind is habit stacking. So having some sort of like cue or trigger that allows you that kind of alerts your brain to, hey, it's time to engage in this habit. So for instance, if an athlete has a goal to drink more water, and they already maybe part of their morning routine is having 1 cup of coffee, rather than changing or removing something in their routine already, they're just implementing something along with that coffee. So maybe their micro habit is to drink a cup of water before they have their coffee.
Mm.
Um, and then if we want to continue stacking habits, maybe it's drinking the water, having the coffee while they're reading 2 pages of a book, leadership book, self-improvement book, something like that. So the idea is that these things are quick. They're quick, easy, and it should be something you're adding to your routine to improve it, not necessarily, having any kind of hard feelings about adding this habit in.
I love that. That does make it a little bit more attainable, a little bit easier. We don't have to make massive changes, just little changes over time
Yeah.
can make a big difference. I love that. So, can you share some of the ways students and coaches can kind of benefit from implementing these little micro habits?
Yeah. So I I like to think of this as micro habits having a benefit when it comes to athletic performance, but also just overall well-being, and wellness. So if we're looking at student athletes in particular, when it comes to performance, being able to implement these micro habits consistently is ultimately going to increase self-efficacy, which is essentially just our belief in our ability to be successful at any task. So when you're doing something daily and you're checking off the boxes, you're naturally going to start to feel more confident. You're going to feel more comfortable. It's going to improve that self-efficacy. And so along with kind of that boost in confidence and self-esteem is going to just be a boost in motivation as well, and being able to sustain that motivation through adversity. So when we're doing these little things daily, anytime we're checking something off or completing it, as humans, we feel kind of that, natural kind of sensation of satisfaction and fulfillment. And so as we're doing that, we feel ourselves slowly getting closer and progressing towards that larger goal, which is going to, keep our feelings of motivation and our why at the forefront of our minds. Um, and then on the opposite side of that, we have, well-being. And so being able to successfully kind of use these micro habits will increase likelihood of success outside of sport as well. And so immediately, I kind of something that comes to mind is success in school, or like using micro habits to develop positive study habits, and small changes that can be made there as well. And then just quick how coaches can benefit. I think anytime a coach is kind of reinforcing micro habits or utilizing them, they're immediately creating a culture that emphasizes the power of process goals. And so, again, outcome goals are important to have, but they're showing their athletes what's important in this process, what needs to be done daily and consistently to get there. And in the process of that, you're facilitating character development, you're building discipline, consistency, accountability, all those good things.
Yeah, I love that, the process. Last one I got for you here. What might micro habits look like in action from a coach and athlete's perspective? What might it look
Mhm.
like?
Yeah, so just to throw a few examples out there. So some things that come to mind if you're an athlete, say you want to, I'll just throw a few out there. So say you want to get your mile time down to 7 minutes. A micro habit to start off might just be jogging one block around the neighborhood each day. If you want to improve your strength, maybe you're incorporating 10 push-ups into your routine in the evening when you get home. If you want to become a better leader, be picked as captain on your team. Maybe you're incorporating just reading 2 to 3 pages of a book each night. Maybe you're swapping that out with your screen time before bed, or maybe you're adding it in, right? So maybe that as part of your evening routine, you like to kind of wind down on social media. Maybe you set a goal to do that for 5 minutes, but before you do that, you have to read a few pages of a book. So those are just some small things. And then for coaches, when I talked about daily goals and practice goals, so if a coach has, a season goal to develop a championship caliber team, some small things that they can do each practice, again, that are quick, could just be 1 minute of breathing exercises with their team, 1 minute of imagery or gratitude. Doesn't have to be long, but you're reinforcing these small actions that can be done each day.
I love that. Little habits stacked together equal big changes. Allie, thanks so much for joining us. You guys check out all of our videos on the wintodayplanner.com video content library. If you have any questions or concerns, shoot us a message. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.